Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Coin Lady channel. I hate being the one who has to deliver terrible news. However, after the SEC versus Ripple case comes to a conclusion, it is probable that XRP will not be relisted on exchanges in the United States. Let's consider the possible causes. Since it is unclear from a legal standpoint whether or not XRP is a security, it is possible that exchanges will not realize XRP. In other words, while many people are hopeful about the future of XRP, including myself, the most likely outcome is that, once this is settled, and by settled, I don't mean in the traditional sense of the word, but rather, once there is a conclusion, there will be final clarity. I still haven't given up hope. And that would send the price of XRP over the roof. But I do recognize the possibility of a muddled situation if we don't receive clarity, say if Ripple loses and we don't get clarity for XRP. In particular, the opposite might occur, and the price of XRP could drastically drop. I can't say how dramatic it might be, since of course I don't know. The point is, I'm hopeful, and it's not ridiculous to assume that it might have been. That's not the most likely consequence, in my opinion. And after 2.5 years of this, it would feel absolutely awful to me. In addition, realizing that this occurs because markets are still confused and there is a lack of regulatory certainty is important, as this is the case. Then, in such case, as lawyer Jeremy Hogan put it, probably the judge will not even address the issue, to quote Hogan. This is cause for serious alarm. This problem may prohibit XRP from being relisted on some exchanges. In technical terms, it may prevent XRP from being relisted at all. Lawyer Hogan is worried that it won't be dealt with. Even though that's the case, he now admits he has hope that things aren't hopeless. In addition, XRP community member and attorney Bill Morgan says he believes Judge Torres has already publicly signaled that she is not going to address this. However, I shall explain everything in detail. It's not the end of the world. Therefore, I'm not attempting to work myself up. But let's be realistic. It's probable we'll reach a result that will make us unhappy as a group. I want to make it perfectly obvious that I have zero backing, either financial or legal, before we go any further. I am not qualified to give you financial or legal counsel. Anyone who thinks otherwise should not make any financial decisions based on what I say, right? Just a hobbyist here that occasionally posts films to YouTube on various crypto-related topics. Okay, so here's what attorney Jeremy Hogan told the community on Twitter. There has been discussion about how / if secondary market sales of XRP will or will not be addressed in the Ripple case. This is crucial as we can only be sure XRP will be relisted on exchanges if this happens. While the SEC lawsuit does not explicitly state that XRP is a security like a share of stock, it does contain wording that could be interpreted as such. The lawsuit does not include any requests to the SEC that would give the assets this status. That is truer than truth. Will we go to the Securities and Exchange Commission and say that XRP is a security? Remember the lawyers from the SEC from the last DPRI? They emphatically wouldn't accept that idea. But if you look at the arguments they make in the case, including the embodiment, that is exactly what they are claiming. That much is certain to us. We know what they're up to, they're not fooling us. However, they may be avoiding directly addressing it, thus the issue remains hazy. Could they possibly get away with it? I mean, it's ludicrous, as pointed out here by attorney Hogan, who says as much, but I digress. The difficulty is that if the plaintiff doesn't bring it up, the judge probably won't either. One could claim that it is dealt with in subsequent conversations by omission, but is that sufficient? We have no idea. But there is a chance. First, Ripple might have the SEC agree to exclude secondary sales from the final verdict, or the judge could approve language offered by Ripple to that effect. And I'll pause for a little observation. That's reminiscent of the library case in several ways. Right. That decision, in my opinion, was incorrect. However, library lost tickets were issued towards the start of November in 2016. When it came time to discuss the remedies available, the judge had already made it clear whether or not secondary market purchases counted. His decision. Thus, the question arises as to whether or not such language will be adequate to ensure that U.S. exchanges have confidence in listing any asset that is in such a scenario. That's the big question mark, especially for XRP, which has been removed from nearly every exchange in the U.S. Right. This is not inconceivable in this location. On the other hand, Attorney Hogan says, Kick Interactive was successful in persuading the SEC to allow the phrase below concerning ongoing sales. Also, let me just expand this to full screen. No, I won't be reading this. This is a screenshot from the awesome interactive case, though, for those who are interested. And if you're interested, you may stop right here and read it. But for the sake of time, I'll just keep going since you get the ideas across. And then Attorney Hogan says second, the judge could address the concerns raised by numerous amici with regards to secondary sales, including those championed by XRP holders led by Attorney Dean. Therefore, I will pause to make a note. This has been what I've suspected all along. If you look at how Judge Torres allowed John Deaton to represent over 75,000 XRP holders, and how she approved, she said yes, all of you can't, all 17 of you absolutely jump on in here, you'll see that she was willing to accept all 17 opposed damage that applied. Couldn't that possibly mean something? She wants to know as much as possible, at the very least. But honestly, how would her decision affect those who do not participate in political parties? Because, once more, the Maisai are not a party to the litigation. They are, quote, friends of the court. This is the essence of amicus representation. Since this has been my hunch all along, it stands to reason that Attorney Hogan probably agrees with me. Doesn't that suggest that the amici, the court's pals, have convinced Judge Torres to rule on some of the secondary market transactions? When asked about the judge's decision in the Light and Library case, Hogan's attorney said that the judge had agreed to address secondary sales. Who knows? Yeah. To clarify, what he is saying is that Attorney Deaton was there for the remedies phase of the case at the hearing at the end of January, since John Dean was present as an amicus because of the library's loss. However, he persuaded the judge to include a statement in the judgment stating that this will not affect secondary market transactions, and he succeeded. As of yet, there has been no definitive judgment on possible remedies, so he could change his mind. What happened to Hogan right now is true, but only in a technical sense. We can do nothing but wait and watch what happens. Finally, Attorney Hogan argues that if Ripple is unsuccessful, the judge may have to handle secondary sales by drafting a disgorgement order. Why? For the reason that the judge must ensure that the disgorged funds are distributed fairly. That's why it's up to the judge to decide who gets what from the rippling settlement. At this point, Ripple can argue that only original purchasers, not secondary buyers, are entitled to a return on their investment. According to SEC versus Wong, this is mandatory. Okay. What he means is therefore very evident at this point. Judge Torres can, and probably will, handle this situation in numerous ways. It's important to consider all of the potential outcomes. Let's assume that the Ripple fails. Unfortunately, the true position of XRP is unclear. What the heck is XRP, anyway? Is it a damn security? Given what we know, it seems unlikely. But nonetheless, if this doesn't lead to clarity, I'm afraid about some extremely negative developments in XRP's price behavior. I really hope that doesn't occur. In principle, though, given that such a situation would necessitate such discussion, it seems until it comes to the remedies portion, and who knows, maybe that's a month after the completion of the case here. The possibility exists. Well, if that happens, and in the interim we're just kind of in no man's land and the price plummets, potentially which would be I would be so angry if that happened. The good news is that since this issue needs to be fixed, it's possible that clarification will be provided for XRP, with all secondary transactions excluded. Right. And then, if it's alright to ask, would that be enough to get XRP relisted on exchanges? Do you now understand Attorney Hogan's point? And then he adds that the court probably would agree otherwise because the disgorgement would be watered down after enough secondary sales. Fractions of a cent or less? Do you think it's possible to envision this? In light of this, let's assume that disgorgement causes Ripple to return all of the funds from secondary market transactions. Their aim is true. Everyone who has ever used the XRP network in any capacity. Ledger? Do we really mean that? Didn't you? In what way? Are you for real, Clark? Seriously, that's crazy. For starters, it would make any kind of resolution absolutely pointless. And then, for a moment, I couldn't believe that was the firm's final verdict. That is, if it only attends events where it is likely to encounter Ripple. That would certainly send a message, even if secondary sales weren't factored in. Then, as Hogan's legal advice puts it, problem solved. To that end, we shall wait and see. Bill Morgan, an attorney, may one day peruse this topic. And he elaborated on that here. Furthermore, he penned the following. Judge Daubert's decision on the Daubert motion made it clear that she must rule on the issue and was paused to note, as a reminder, the dollar motion. The judge ultimately ruled in favor of XRP in early March, which was viewed as a huge positive by market participants. And that involved the testimony of specialists. And the SEC got a terrible beating. It was an awful thrashing. It's almost as if they were forced to go underground. And the Ripple ended up winning big. That's what he means when he talks about the dollar sign. Therefore, Attorney Morgan claims that this problem, and not XRP's secondary market trading, was the foundation for her decision to admit or exclude expert testimony. I'm hoping she talks about whether or not XRP itself qualifies as a security. I'll add one more thing. If she looks up what the judge did in the library case, she'll see that he declined to define XRP, saying that he was trying to adopt a minimalist approach. Even if Judge Torres doesn't rule that XRP is not a security, it's still not the asset in question, so maybe you shouldn't panic just yet. So even if she wants to take a more minimalist approach and merely notes that secondary market transactions aren't, well, duh, because that would mean think about this logically, if the asset itself is always the security, then it would be the case that every single transaction, including on secondary markets, would be illegal securities transactions. You can see how this is good news for getting relisted on exchanges. What's more, here's what I found here, too. Here's a screenshot for you, which appears to read as follows. This is the verdict of the judge. A key question in this case is whether or if the defendants sold or offered to sell XRP as part of a series related to the dollar motions judged by the court. The question at hand is, once again, whether the defendants offered or sold XRP in the capacity of a security. But I am concerned she has indicated she would not, Attorney Morgan continues, implying that she will not clarify whether XRP is or is not a security. After that, Morgan, the lawyer, suggests we consider it from a different angle. The judge may assess whether or not XRP is a security if Ripple loses and you obtain penalties and discouragement by Ripple of earnings on XRP sales. I believe that to be the argument that Attorney Jeremy Hogan was attempting to make. On the other hand, if Ripple is successful in having the judge rule that the sales of XRP were not investment contracts as defined in the Daubert motion, then the judge need not rule on whether or not XRP itself is a security, since XRP could hardly be considered a security if the sales by Ripple were not ruled to be sales of securities. That is a seamless continuation of the line of reasoning. Again, this does not mean that all hope is lost. To be absolutely crystal clear, I am extremely optimistic because, there are so many things out there. However, I do believe that we should be wary of a few hazards. Because if things really don't go the right way, and if they don't go the way they should, we XRP holders can take yet another battering. And that will definitely rank up there as one of the most insulting things I've ever been subjected to. It would be so ridiculous if that actually happened. The opposite is true. The SEC is intended to help safeguard investors and facilitate capital formation, but instead they are actively working against the interests of investors. In both respects, like a fine little gentleman. That's not anything we need to worry about. They are basically taking the stance of no capital formation, screw investors in this situation. This has nothing to do with improving clarity or preventing harm. In other words, they couldn't give a damn. Depending on how things develop and the details of your narrative, it's possible that XRP won't be relisted on exchanges even after we get things moving. But even if that's what happens at first, it won't last. If you look at what lawyer Hogan said again, you'll notice that this isn't necessarily what happens when the XRP price drops. Even in the worst-case scenario, there is still a potential for things to turn around because of the solutions section, which is not realistic. I really hope it doesn't happen. I can't say. I'm not going to pretend that I won't be angry if that occurs. Just start yelling into the microphone, upload it to my channel on YouTube, and copy Sharon on the email. I won't take it that literally, but if it does, I will be very angry. I guess I put a large portion of my wealth on this. And I am aware of the proper course of action. But if they're going to treat us that way, that's the way it is. Without a definitive answer from our legal system as to whether or not XRP is a security, it seems pointless to go to all that trouble. What on God's green earth could be more offensive? And that's really absurd. Thus, let us pray that it doesn't happen. Let's not let our fear get the best of us. Just so we're aware. This is certainly something we may face. What can I say? I'm an optimist. And I'm cautiously optimistic, with the hope that we won't have to deal with that. But we'll figure it out together, so don't worry. Please share your thoughts. I'm genuinely interested in learning more about this topic and your input would be greatly appreciated. Give me your honest opinion. Let's continue talking about this. I don't give advice on money matters. Nothing I say should influence your buying or selling decisions. In the end, please like and subscribe my channel. See you in the next video. Bye.